So if you don't come see it, you're sending a message that black women cannot lead the box office globally. You are supporting that narrative.
Remember the good old days when you used to be able to watch a movie or not watch a movie without being called a racist or a sexist or any one of the other ists on the great big long list of ists? Well, those days are over, my friend. You live in 2022, and in 2022, whether or not you decide to spend your money on a movie is a determinant factor in whether or not you are a horrible, horrible, evil person. Viola Davis, an actor whom we have tremendous respect for here in Not Gospel Studios, an actor whom we have commended multiple times on multiple videos on her acting prowess, had a red carpet reveal for her controversial, quasi-controversial, historical movie, The Woman King. The reason some people have had issue with this movie is because The Woman King claims to be based on a profound, historical, true story. And a lot of people after watching the movie have said that it's honestly just another take on revisionist history, that they're using this movie to race bait and inflame racial tensions and perpetuate the narratives that racism and sexism are just as dominant in our culture today as they were 50, 60, 70 years ago. Imagine if I were to look at you and say this. If you don't support Not Gospel Studios' YouTube channel with your views and your likes and your comments and your shares and your wallet, then you are supporting and perpetuating the horrible narrative that independent content creators and independent content creations are irrelevant wastes of time. That sounded stupid just coming out of my mouth. There are a multitude of reasons not to support my channel and many, many other YouTube channels out there. You don't have to be just an evil person who supports false narratives that independent content is crap. Which brings us back to the Viola Davis clip.
So if you don't come see it, then you're sending a message that black women cannot lead the box office globally. You are supporting that narrative. Come see it the same way you would, the same way you would Black Panther, Spider-Man. Iron Man, Spider-Man, or any other movie that doesn't have any of us in it.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's not how it works. Sometimes people just don't want to watch your movie because they're not into it. But time and time again, Viola Davis has doubled and tripled down on these statements. Here she is on The View talking about how significant and important this movie is and how if you don't go watch it, you are supporting an evil Hollywood narrative that women of color do not need to lead big blockbuster movies.
It is a predominantly female cast and dark-skinned black woman led.
What was so terrifying?
Because it's black females that have never led a box office. When you see other action movies by women, you don't see us.
Yes.
And so it sends a very clear message to Hollywood that we can't lead a global box office.
Now, I do agree with Viola Davis that there are agendas and there are Hollywood ideologies out there. And maybe there is a Hollywood ideology that suggests that women of color do not need to lead big blockbuster action films. But just because I have no interest in watching Viola Davis's movie does not mean that I am supporting or condoning any false narrative about women of color in big blockbuster movies. That's just not true.
It is everything. It's like a female version of Braveheart.
From everything I've seen of the movie, the reasons I'm avoiding is because I believe it falsely depicts itself as this accurate representation of historical events, when in reality, it is just a movie that is loosely inspired by historic events.
The kingdom of Dahomey and this troop of fierce female fighters was based on a historical group.
Yes, and
The Dahamean kingdom amassed its fortune in the slave trade. They would trade African slaves to Europeans for weapons. They'd take those weapons, use them to dominate more African territories, and acquire more African slaves. That is how they amassed their fortune, amassed their wealth, and had such a tremendous impact for multiple centuries in African history and African culture. If there's no mention of this whatsoever, if it's just this revisionist history idea that evil Europeans are coming to exploit Africans and take away all of their rights and all of their goods and all of their people in the slave trade, then it needs to take its place on the shelf of revisionist history propaganda masquerading as art.
It fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
Viola Davis does, however, make this comment when she's on The View.
And these girls were recruited from the age of 8 and 14. Okay, they were the unwanted. Wow. They were the ones that were considered ugly. They were not allowed to marry, have sex, have children.
Wow.
But if they refused, a lot of them were beheaded.
Oh.
You know, and that's a part of the story that needs to be injected.
Yes, that's relevant. Yes, that's a conversation to be had. Yes, you have the opportunity in your movie to tell that story. Does she? I don't know. If you're a fan of this movie, if you've watched it or going to watch it again and you loved it and are enraptured by the artistry behind it and the big budget production and global value and potential that it has, tell me.
It is everything.
Do they mention the fact that if these women do not fight, they're going to be executed? Do they mention that in the movie? If not, then by Viola Davis's own admission, it's not historically accurate. Let's be honest here. If you really want people to watch your movie, you don't shame them into watching your movie. If your movie's good enough, they'll watch it. They didn't have to shame anyone into watching the movie Avatar and making it the top grossing movie of all time. It was a great movie. They watched it. They didn't have to shame anybody into watching Titanic, even though we all knew how it was going to end. And yes, there was room on that door for Jack. They didn't have to shame anybody into watching Alien when it came out and showed a strong, powerful female in a sci-fi movie, and it rocked the box office, and people loved it and immediately became a cult classic. What do all three of those movies have in common? The director, you racist weirdo, what were you thinking? This is just one of the many things that I'm finding flawed with how Hollywood and actors in general and people in the public eye are treating race relations right now. It's just like the internet firestorm that's going on right now about the live-action remake of The Little Mermaid and them casting a person of color as The Little Mermaid. If you voice any opinion that you're not interested in watching The Little Mermaid because they race swapped, then they immediately think you're a racist. And why is that? It's because in our modern culture, Caucasians are the only race that aren't allowed to have culture. It's true. The Little Mermaid is an adaptation of an old Danish folklore tale about a mermaid. It's Danish. They're all white folks. Hercules was a legendary character from Grecian and Roman folklore, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, whose ethnicity is half African-American and half Polynesian, has played him. It's race swapping. To put this in perspective, imagine the outrage that would manifest itself online if all of a sudden they took this same story about this Dahamean kingdom and these powerful, impressive female warriors, and they just made them all white characters. The internet would go insane, all right? They would. You know they would.
Get out!
There are plenty of reasons not to watch Viola Davis's new movie, The Woman King. And there are plenty of reasons to watch it. Like I've said before, Viola Davis is a fantastic actor, period. I don't even have to know any of the other cast members to be interested in the movie. But the moment that you attempt to shame me for not watching it, and say that if I just decide to not watch it for whatever reason, if I get busy and caught up in the fact that I've got 3 kids, football practices every day, and multiple jobs, that somehow I'm sort of a bigot or a racist, there's no way I'm going to watch your movie, and I'm going to call your vicious, insulting narrative for what it is. But what do you all think about this? Is there a Hollywood agenda to keep women of color out of big blockbuster movies? Is every single human being on the planet who decides not to watch The Woman King complicit with an evil Hollywood narrative that is pushing black, strong women out of lead roles in blockbuster movies? Or are they just people who decide for one of the many other reasons, hey, that movie's not for me? Let us know what you think about this story. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much, as always, for supporting our little channel and the content we provide. Right now, I would encourage you, if you have an opinion that's different than ours, please share. Keep it family friendly, but share. We want to encourage conversations here on this channel. That's what we're about. We don't judge you because you have a different opinion, but we might judge you if you stink. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Continue to support quality, independent content, and keep being awesome, because that's how God made you. If you enjoyed this clip from the Not Gospel Studios YouTube channel, don't forget to share. Click on one of the other videos that you can find here. Subscribe. I think it's down here. Tell your friends about us. Tell them that it's healthy and vegan and all of those things. Keep being awesome, because that's how God made you. Bye.